This week on Christian World News, not guilty. The government puts this pro-life advocate on trial. Hear why the jury rejected their charges and how it affects the pro-life movement in America. Plus, former President Trump and evangelical voters. They've been strong supporters in the past, so why are they holding back this time around? And in one of the world's largest slums, dirty water means sickness and even death. See how one ministry is helping make clean water, leading to healthy bodies and new life. Welcome to Christian World News. I'm Mark Martin. Not guilty. That's the verdict in the federal trial of Mark Houck. The pro-life advocate says he's overjoyed, blessed, and grateful. He's also eager to return to sidewalk counseling. His attorneys say the verdict is not only a win for Houck, but also for the whole pro-life movement. Matt Galka has the story.
Thank you, Lord. We know where two or more are gathered in your name. You are there in our midst. Your spirit is here.
Mark Houck and his family prayed outside of a Philadelphia federal courthouse. Moments earlier, a jury found Houck not guilty of federal assault charges.
Oh, man. It's a relief, overjoyed, blessed. Just so grateful.
The pro-life activist was involved in an altercation outside of a Planned Parenthood clinic in 2021. The FBI carried out an early morning raid on his home and arrested him in front of his family nearly a year later. The Department of Justice tried to make the case that the shoving incident between Houck and a volunteer escort in front of an abortion clinic was a violation of the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances, or FACE Act. The jury disagreed.
This matter is one that never should have gotten the attention of the Department of Justice. Our hope here is that a message was sent to Washington, D.C. to stop this harassment of sidewalk counselors who are just trying to provide alternatives to those who are facing an abortion decision. And I hope, again, this will be one of those points where a change is made.
The trial focused on the alleged assault between Houck and the volunteer, which Houck said happened after his son was verbally abused. His attorney said it was also about freedom of speech.
This was about the First Amendment in that Mark and every sidewalk counselor in this country has an equal right to be there on that sidewalk and offer assistance, offer alternatives to folks who otherwise may be considering abortion.
With the trial now over, Houck says he'll return to sidewalk counseling once again.
Sign me up. I'm ready to go back out. Pray. 10 o'clock next morning. Pray. Put me down for 10 o'clock. Pray. I'll be wherever you need me. And yeah, just happy to continue the mission. You know, the mission goes on.
The jury was briefly deadlocked since Friday until an alternate juror was brought in on Monday and a final decision was reached. Houck's attorneys say Houck is ready to testify in front of Congress about the ordeal, and they hope to get an invitation soon. Matt Galka, CBN News.
Thousands of world leaders, activists, and lawmakers are all in Washington this week. Their goal, to shine a spotlight on those being persecuted for their faith. They're part of the International Religious Freedom Summit. Caitlin Burke brings us a look at this year's event and some of the top themes in the fight for freedom.
The International Religious Freedom Summit was created to highlight and advance the issue of religious freedom for everyone, everywhere, all the time. With an uptick of global unrest over the last year, organizers believe that along with being a fundamental human right, religious freedom is also a significant foreign policy issue.
The United States must continue to be a voice for the voiceless who are persecuted for their beliefs.
In our very diverse world, unless the right to freedom of religion exists for everyone, it doesn't truly exist for anyone.
Despite differing political views, honorary congressional co-chairs Mike McCall and Jim McGovern expressed mutual concern about increasing religious persecution worldwide.
Countries where religious freedoms are under attack are often countries where repression and instability are the norm.
Protecting religious freedom isn't just about doing what's right. It's also a matter of national security. By resolving conflict, we can help prevent terrorism at home and abroad. As religious freedoms advance, conflict recedes.
Former Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom, Sam Brownback, says this issue plays a significant role in current global events.
Take Ukraine right now. Ukrainians splitting off a Ukrainian Orthodox Church from the Russian Orthodox Church was one of the things that caused Putin to move. He didn't want Ukraine to break out of the Russian world.
It's Russia's ally China, however, that Brownback believes poses the greatest international threat to religious freedom.
It's an authoritarian regime that's seeking to expand their model and to export their technology to do it.
Dr. Yang Zhanli, a Chinese dissident and human rights activist, blames the Communist Party.
Ultimately, the reason that China has no tolerance for faith is because the CCP wishes to replace human need to worship with a substitute religion centered around the party.
Dr. Zhanli says the evidence is clear. The world just needs to look at what's happened to the Uyghurs, Tibetans, and other faiths to see Beijing systematically eradicating anyone not completely in line with a party-centered allegiance. He's calling on governments to condemn this behavior in the same way they've united against Putin. Brownback says he hopes this summit will help push religious freedom to the next level, making it a top priority at every level of government. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Up next, a sign of disloyalty. That's what former President Trump is saying about Christians who aren't backing his 2024 campaign for the White House. Hear how he plans to bring evangelicals back into his fold.
Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. My latest teaching is about you and where you come from. More importantly, where are you going? In this teaching, you'll discover 3 of life's biggest questions. How you answer these very important questions can hold the keys to your future.
In Gordon Robertson's latest audio teaching, Divine Direction, you'll discover the keys to a fulfilling life, what it means to be a child of God, how to correct negative self-talk, plus a daily devotional to strengthen your faith, and so much more.
God has uniquely made you. You're the only one of you in all of human history. You are the only one to accomplish the mission that He has specifically crafted you to fulfill. I hope this teaching will encourage you to go for God's best.
Get Divine Direction when you become a CBN partner.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back to Christian World News. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle came together for the 71st National Prayer Breakfast Thursday. Members of the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir performed. The annual multi-faith gathering gives political and religious leaders the chance to meet, pray together, and build relationships. In keeping with tradition, President Biden headlined the event. Evangelical support for Donald Trump's comeback campaign is not a shoo-in. A key block of his former supporters are hanging back. Evangelical voters turned out for Trump in huge numbers in 2016 and 2020. David Brody explains why it might be harder this time around.
Tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
While it's clear Donald Trump is all in for 2024, his MAGA hold on evangelicals may have lost some strength. A lot has happened since last time around. January 6th, the fallout with Mike Pence, the Mar-a-Lago classified documents, continued focus on the past election, and just overall drama. Corey Lewandowski is his former campaign manager. How much work does Donald Trump have to do with evangelicals? He's got the track record. I got it. I got the resume, most pro-life president in history. No one's going to argue with any of that. But this is a different time.
Well, David, he has real work to do. Let's not kid ourselves. I'm sure that the team has a plan, but the work with the evangelicals and others that he may have taken for granted in 2020 is very real.
As it stands, some of the prominent faithful who fervently backed Trump the last time are still in the pews, not yet willing to commit. No official support from the likes of Franklin Graham, Jack Graham, or Albert Mohler, all previous backers. Pastor Robert Jeffress, once a vocal Trump defender, says he'll wait until the primary season comes into focus. Dr. Mike Evans, who helped mobilize evangelicals for Trump, says the former president does not personify biblical values and, quote, does not have the support of the evangelicals that he did. Christian TV host James Robison has also been critical this time around, saying, quote, if Mr. Trump can't stop his little petty issues, how does he expect people to stop major issues?
Some of these people love the Trump policies, but they don't like the chaos that sometimes ensues around him. And I think they are waiting to see, is Ron DeSantis going to get in? Is Mike Pompeo going to get in? What is Mike Pence going to do? Are we going to see people like Chris Sununu or Kristi Noem get into the race for president as well? I think the field is still being developed.
Meanwhile, liberal media outlets like Vanity Fair are taking advantage with headlines like, "We will get destroyed. Evangelicals are quietly ditching Donald Trump's 2024 bid." The overall message being that evangelicals will consider options like Ron DeSantis, Pence, and others if they get in. So what does Donald Trump think of all this? Well, it's something we discussed during a phone interview earlier last week.
What is your message to them?
Well, I don't really care. Look, that's a sign of disloyalty. There's great disloyalty in the world of politics, and that's a sign of disloyalty because nobody has ever done more for right to life than Donald Trump.
A public sign of trouble came after a social media post by Trump regarding the midterm election results. He wrote, quote, "It was the abortion issue, poorly handled by many Republicans, especially those that firmly insisted on no exceptions, even in the case of rape, incest, or life of the mother, that lost large numbers of voters." Leaders of pro-life organizations like the Susan B. Anthony list didn't like those comments, saying, quote, "The approach to winning on abortion in federal races proven for a decade is this: state clearly the ambitious consensus pro-life position and contrast that with the extreme view of Democrat opponents. We will look forward to hearing that position fully articulated by Mr. Trump and all presidential candidates."
I want people to do what they have to do and, keep their beliefs. But I think without exception, Ronald Reagan and myself and others, many others, probably most others, believed in the exception because, if you don't have it, I think it's very, very hard, frankly, to get elected.
Despite that misstep, Trump is still considered the most pro-life president in American history. And evangelicals won't forget other accomplishments, like 3 Supreme Court justices, religious freedom victories, moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, and many others. Some 2024 faith support is already building. The group, Pastors for Trump, led by Oklahoma pastor Jackson Lawmeyer, has chapters in each state.
When President Trump made his announcement that he was going to run and seek the nomination for the president of the United States on the Republican side, there was a lot of pastors and faith leaders that were very silent. I just began thinking, hey, we need to rally pastors behind President Trump because we recognize that in our lifetime, there's not been a more pro-Christian president than Donald Trump.
Even though that may be the case, there is still a lot of work to do.
We have not seen the type of outreach from his team that would historically have been conducted by now in a presidential campaign. So my advice is do not take them for granted. They need to be cared and fed and talked to and listened to. And don't rely on what you did as the president, because these people want to see continuation of those policies without some of the chaos that surrounds the campaign.
And in the midst of any type of chaos, what's needed most is prayer. It was fervent last time around for Trump, and no matter whether evangelicals vote for him this time, prayer for the upcoming election is definitely in order. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, in one of the world's largest slums, this filter is changing thousands of lives and opening the door to the gospel.
as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline tonight at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
The latest audio teaching from Gordon Robertson, Divine Direction, God's Blueprint for Your Future.
I can get filled with the joy, the love, peace of the Holy Spirit because I'm made in His image. That's what God wants. That's what He intended from the beginning. I'm supposed to manifest Him in human form. These are wonderful, energizing words.
Divine Direction, God's Blueprint for Your Future. Available now.
In the city of Nairobi, Kenya, sits a 3 square mile settlement of rusty tin dwellings built on dirt and rock. The Kibera slum is home to some 400,000 people. Conditions there are challenging as there is no police, sanitation, or even trash removal. Most human waste ends up in the river that runs through the slum, contaminating the water and causing disease and death. However, one Christian ministry is at work in Kibera, bringing tools to purify the water and giving a life-giving message of hope. Chris Beth is the chief storyteller and director of the Bucket Ministry, and he joins us now with more. Chris, let's talk specifically about your ministry in the Kibera slum. First of all, describe the conditions there and the problems caused by dirty water.
Well, Kibera is a very unique place, and it's roughly 3 square miles where 408,000 people live without access to many things. And one of the things that we can help with is clean, safe drinking water. So there's roughly 95,000 homes there that don't have access to clean, safe drinking water. And we are focused at what I would say would be a hyper level of providing each one of these homes access, generational access to clean, safe drinking water through a very simple filter that attaches to any bucket or receptacle.
Describe that briefly, how it works and the impact it makes on the water.
It's a hollow fiber membrane filter, which is not a new technology. In fact, it's been used in kidney dialysis work for almost 30 years, I think. And what the filter does is it attaches to any bucket or receptacle and will remove down to 0.1 micron of contaminants that are in the unsafe surface water that people have to drink. So this means that it will remove bacteria, protozoans, other parasites, dirt, and debris, and leave people with over 20 years worth of clean, safe drinking water.
You've distributed it to some 33,000 people in the Kibera slum. What difference has clean drinking water made on their lives?
So the first thing we hear is just the physical aspect of what having clean water means to that community. And we're actually hearing things like clinics are actually closing because they don't have enough people coming there to be treated anymore. We're hearing that children are no longer missing days of school. We are hearing stories of adults aren't missing work because of runny stomach or symptoms that come from just waterborne disease. So the physical aspect of it is wonderful, but obviously we are focused a little deeper. For us, the filter becomes a key that allows us to develop a long-term relationship with the recipients, that we can earn the right to share the gospel and then disciple those that come to believe. The amount of people that are coming to Christ because of this, and how churches are now being challenged in this area because of so many new believers being there.
You don't just distribute the water, like you said, you also bring the message of the gospel. Break that down a little bit for us. Tell us how you do that and the impacts that it's had on people there in the Kibera slum.
In any bucket of dirty water, there is literally 6 sermons that can be preached from that. But the simplest one is that the dirt that's in the water, the contaminants, are a lot like things that we all have struggled with and struggle with, and that's the sin in our lives, the things that keeps us apart from this relationship with God. What that filter becomes is almost just like what Jesus did for us on that cross. And then every filter that is distributed, we go back to those families' homes at least 3 times to do follow-up visitations. And part of those follow-ups are to check to see that the filter is functioning properly and people are caring for it. But the bigger part is that we are, again, earning the right to be in their home, checking on this filter. But we go ahead and continually share the gospel for those that have not heard. And for those that have heard and they've chosen to follow Jesus, we start to teach patterns of discipleship so that we can point each one of these people to local like-minded churches.
All right, Chris Beth of the Bucket Ministry. Chris, thank you for joining us, and thank you for the work that you and your team are doing. It's awesome.
Thank you so much, and God bless.
You too. As always, you can learn more about how God is at work in the world at our Christian World News webpage. Find it at cbnnews.com. We'll be right back.
CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. My latest teaching is about you and where you come from. More importantly, where are you going? In this teaching, you'll discover 3 of life's biggest questions. How you answer these very important questions can hold the keys to your future.
In Gordon Robertson's latest audio teaching, Divine Direction, you'll discover the keys to a fulfilling life, what it means to be a child of God, how to correct negative self-talk, plus a daily devotional to strengthen your faith, and so much more.
God has uniquely made you. You're the only one of you in all of human history. You are the only one to accomplish the mission that He has specifically crafted you to fulfill. I hope this teaching will encourage you to go for God's best.
Get Divine Direction when you become a CBN partner.
Beyond the realm of modern science exists a power that defies logic.
How did I survive?
No idea how long I had been there.
See inspirational first-hand encounters of divine intervention that helped overcome impossible circumstances.
It was just totally a miracle.
Prayer truly does work. God made it happen.
He can do the impossible.
God is not going to let you down.
Miracle Living Today, weekends on the CBN News Channel and CBN Family.
Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
For more than 100 years, archaeologists have made historic discoveries in the city of David, where King David established the capital of Israel more than 3,000 years ago. Now, one of its most important sites is being uncovered for the world to see. As Chris Mitchell shows us, it's the location of one of Jesus' most famous miracles in the New Testament.
Located at the bottom of the city of David is the Pool of Siloam, one of the most important places in ancient Jerusalem.
This is a site where all of the Jewish people would gather 3 times a year for Pentecost, Tabernacles, and Passover to immerse, spiritually cleanse themselves before the pilgrimage up to the temple.
These steps were uncovered in 2004, but when the pool is fully excavated on the other side of this wall, it will mark the first time in modern history when the Pool of Siloam has been fully excavated and open to the public.
So now there is a groundbreaking. We are really in historic times. Really, 2 weeks ago, we have received the okay to start digging. For many years, since 2004, when we discovered this site. And now, after, 18 years later, we are finally able to excavate. Our tractors have started excavating the Pool of Siloam, meaning in a short, I hope, short year, 2 years, we'll be able to come here and see the full Pool of Siloam in its entirety.
This video shows what the pool might have looked like as Jews purified themselves and walked up to the temple. The Bible explains how King Hezekiah built the pool in Chronicles and 2 Kings. Now the rest of the acts of Hezekiah, all his might, and how he made a pool and a tunnel and brought water into the city, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? The book of John describes how Jesus healed the blind man near the pool. When he had said these things, he spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And he said to him, "Go wash in the Pool of Siloam." So he went and washed and came back seeing. Weisman says the pool links the people of the Bible.
All of the biblical stories, you want to meet David and Solomon, Hezekiah, the kings, the stories of Isaiah, of Jeremiah, they're here. And this is literally the water system, the life source of that Jerusalem.
She adds how this project also makes the connection to the people of today.
We are here in Jerusalem, Jerusalem that unites the whole world. Everywhere you go in this world, people are focusing on what's happening in Jerusalem. This is the uniting city. While we're living and creating and innovating in Jerusalem today, at the same time, here at the Pool of Siloam, we're now able to uncover what used to unite us in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. It's not just history. It's not just something that existed a long time ago and it's not relevant. Jerusalem to this day still unites everybody. It still brings people from all faiths and backgrounds to this spot. And now we're able to uncover the ancient stones that would have done that thousands of years ago.
And in doing so, the excavation is the fulfillment of a dream for the people who work at the City of David.
The dream, and what we're actually turning into reality here at the City of David, is to finish excavating the Pool of Siloam and be able to have millions of people come from all faiths and backgrounds, visit the Pool of Siloam, be able to walk up the original pilgrimage road to the temple. And hopefully we'll be able to see that dream realized.
Chris Mitchell, the Pool of Siloam, the City of David.
Fascinating how history is being uncovered there. Well, thanks for joining us this week. Until next week, goodbye and God bless you.